Hey guys, my name is Desiree, and this is Criminally Focused. Whether you're new to my channel or you're a returning OG, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Your support is much appreciated. If you're a new subscriber or a new viewer and you got a sec, go ahead and comment in the comment section below and let me know how you found me. I would like to personally welcome you to the fam. I always forget to say this. If you are not subscribed and you like what you see and want to support your girl, go ahead and click on that subscribe button and notification button so you'll be alerted when there's more videos like this in the future. So today's video is a difficult one. Well, I guess all true crime cases are difficult to talk about, but this one is especially difficult as it involves the death of 3 innocent children that died by the hands of their mother. So just a trigger warning. In this video, we talk about some difficult topics such as self-harm and harm to children. We are also going to cover topics on mental health, such as postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. So if any of these topics are something that, for whatever reason, may be difficult for you to listen to, it's totally okay. I understand. Take care of yourself, check out this video, and hopefully come back for another video in the future. Today, we are talking about Lindsay Clancy, the 32-year-old Massachusetts mom who has been charged with her 3 kids. And as a mom, this one was difficult for me to research. I've got to be real, straight up, my daughter is my world. And to hear that a mother killed her babies, I just can't wrap my head around that. My daughter is the light of my life, and I can't imagine living life without her. So what do I do when I don't understand something? I research it. We are going to talk about the night of the incident, what may or may not have led up to it, and the charges she now faces. We are also going to talk about her claims to have been struggling with mental health and being over-medicated. The arraignment hearing happened on February 7th, and hooey, prosecution opened up a whole new can of worms in my mind. So grab whatever you're drinking or smoking, and let's jump right into it. Today's video brings us to the East Coast, to Duxbury, Massachusetts, which is a suburb about 35 miles from Boston, and according to a 2020 census, had about 16,000 residents. According to the county's website, the town has beautiful landscapes, rivers and lakes and forests and farms. They even have cranberry bogs, which I guess is just basically an area where they harvest cranberries, but it's pretty interesting. Look into it. Despite the town's beauty, it would become home to the murder of 3 of its most innocent residents, children who were brutally murdered by their mom. The news stunned the community and her family and friends, and the nation has really started to look deeper into mental health, specifically postpartum mental health, which is a topic that, in my mind, isn't talked about as frequently as it should be. So January 24th, 2023, the day of the murder started out as any normal day. In the morning, Lindsay took her 5-year-old daughter, Cora, to a scheduled doctor's appointment. And while they were at this appointment, there were no red flags noticed by the receptionist, the nurses, or the doctors who saw Cora. So, of course, they let her go home with Lindsay. When they returned home, Lindsay took Cora and her younger brother, 3-year-old Dawson, outside to play in the snow. They built snowmans, played in the snow, jumped around. They even sent some pictures and videos of all the fun that they were having to family members. So according to Lindsay's internet history, at 4:02, she searched for the term kids Miralax, which is basically just a laxative. Shortly after, she searched for takeout at 3B Restaurant, which was in Plymouth. And then she used Apple Maps to find out how long someone would be gone while they were running this errands. At 4:47, her phone records show she called Walgreens and she spoke with a manager to ask if they had any Miralax in stock. They didn't, but he offered her some alternate brands, and he said during the conversation, Lindsay seemed perfectly normal. Her speech wasn't slurred. She didn't seem like she was under any psychosis. So again, no red flags noticed. At 4:45, she sends a text to her husband, Patrick, who is in the basement working in his home office, saying, "Any chance you want to do takeout from 3B? I didn't cook anything. It's been a long day." After deciding what they wanted to eat, Patrick left their home at approximately 5:15. So after leaving their house, he can be seen on video surveillance calling Lindsay with questions about the medication she wanted him to get. Typical guy. Just kidding. But she didn't answer, but called him back a minute later. And he said that she sounded like she was in the middle of something, but she didn't sound upset. At 5:54, he arrived at 3B and picked up their food. When he arrived home to 47 Summer Street, he found it completely silent, which if you have kids, that's not usual. So he called Lindsay, no answer, so he ran up to the bedroom where he found it locked. Once he opened it, he found that there was blood all over the carpet and that their window was open. So he ran outside to the backyard to find Lindsay laying there with cuts to her wrists and her neck. He called 911 immediately, and during the 911 call, he can be heard asking Lindsay, "What did you do?" Which she responded that she was trying to herself. He asked Lindsay next where the kids were, and she said that they were in the basement. So when the EMS arrived, he asked if they would mind staying with Lindsay while he went to go check on the kids. The 911 call continues, and he can be heard entering the home and walking into their basement while yelling out to his kids. Then you can hear him screaming in shock when he found them. The couple's kids had been found laying on the ground and had been filled with an exercise band. They were face down with the exercise bands still around their necks. The 911 call continues as Patrick's screaming gets louder and longer. The recording picks up Patrick begging his kids to breathe and yelling for officers to help. Lindsay was then rushed to the hospital along with her 3 children. She sustained a broken back, cuts to her wrist and to her neck, and some broken ribs. Her children, 5-year-old Cora and 3-year-old Dawson, were pronounced dead upon arrival. And 8-month-old Callan would be put on life support, and 3 days later, he would pass away. As of February 7th, at her arraignment hearing, Lindsay has been charged with 3 counts of homicide, 3 counts of 3 counts of assault and battery with a weapon, which in our case was the exercise band.
Now let's talk about who Lindsay Clancy is and if there were any red flags missed along the way.
Born in 1991 with the maiden name Musgrove, Lindsay grew up in Connecticut, where she attended Lyman Hall High School and Quinnipiac University. She graduated the university in 2012 with a degree in biology. In 2018, she married Patrick Clancy, and they moved to Duxbury, Massachusetts. 47 Summer Street is a beautiful home. It's got 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and according to online records, was purchased for $500,000. It had a large backyard and was perfect for having a family in, which is exactly what the couple did. Started having babies. They had their first daughter, Cora, followed by 2 sons, Dawson and Callan.
5-year-old Cora Clancy had an infectious laugh. She told people that when she grew up, she wanted to be a doctor and a mama. Patrick said if she was ever to leave the house to go someplace, she would pick someone to take care of her baby dolls, Charlotte and Caroline. She would have all the doll accessories available, so her sitters would be well equipped. Patrick said, "We would tell her that she's such a good little mama. She loved all babies, both real and pretend." After Cora came along Dawson, and according to Patrick, Dawson had bold brown eyes that beamed with friendship. Dawson loved trucks, tractors, Paw Patrol, and being outside. He was adventurous and mischievous. and enjoyed causing trouble, which he typically found hilarious. And last but not least, you have baby Callan, who had just turned 8 months old and who, according to Patrick, had just started sitting up and saying the word dada. He was given such little time to be a part of this world, and that's just heartbreaking.
Lindsay worked at the Massachusetts General Hospital as a labor and delivery nurse. However, after having Callan, she ended up taking a leave of absence to focus on her mental health. Doctors first diagnosed Lindsay with generalized anxiety disorder, then examined on December 20th, 2022 at the Women and Infants Center for Women's and Behavioral Health in Providence, Rhode Island. After her evaluation, according to the prosecution at her arraignment hearing, psychiatrists said they did not believe that she was suffering from postpartum depression or postpartum psychosis. So postpartum depression, baby blues, and postpartum psychosis, they're terms that not a lot of people understand. Postpartum depression is a mental health diagnosis where new mothers feel intense sadness after the birth of their child. And I think I can speak for other moms out there when I say that childbirth is exhausting, and afterwards you're emotionally and physically drained. Well worth it, but the overall feeling of being filled with fears and emotions is totally common. However, it does have levels of severity. And this is a part where I don't think a lot of people understand. There are terms out there such as baby blues and mental health diagnoses, postpartum depression, and then there's mental health emergencies like postpartum psychosis. Baby blues is a mild form of depression that goes away once your hormone levels level back out. Usually takes about 2 weeks. It's estimated about 85% of mothers experience baby blues. In January 2023, just this past month, Lindsay checked herself into McLean Hospital. And she was there from January 1st until January 5th to get help with postpartum depression, which is also known as PPD. PPD is a sadness that lasts over 2 weeks after childbirth. And the symptoms, there's a variety of symptoms, and not all moms experience all of these, but they can include no energy, difficulty concentrating, an intense irritability and or anxiety, a fear of being alone, and in some cases, some moms feel a lack of connection to their new child. And sadly, it's estimated that almost half of the women that are suffering from PPD don't receive medical help because they feel embarrassed or shameful due to their thoughts and their feelings. According to Lindsay's lawyer, she was suffering from postpartum psychosis. So postpartum psychosis is like an intense form of PPD where a patient may temporarily lose touch with reality. According to stuff I've read online, the symptoms seem similar to a bipolar or manic episode and also can include a variety of things, such as unusual or erratic behavior, an irrational fear that somebody is going to harm the baby. New mothers can feel disoriented to the time and the day. They can have auditory hallucinations, and in severe cases, they can have thoughts of harming themselves or harming their children. Doctors are finding that there are several factors that may cause PPD or postpartum psychosis in new mothers. They're finding that a combination of the genetics and physical and emotional changes that new mothers face play a huge role in causing these mental health diagnoses. Then you have the emotional factors that mothers face, such as sleep deprivation, struggles with new identity as a mom, anxiety over the new baby. Some moms struggle with breastfeeding and all of the shame that that brings to them, which it shouldn't. But in our society, it's almost like if you don't breastfeed, you're not taking the best care of your child. As I said earlier, postpartum psychosis is a medical emergency. If you or anyone you know is struggling with this mental health diagnosis, please contact your nearest emergency room. Just explain your situation and they can help you. Treatment for postpartum psychosis and postpartum depression can come in a few different forms. You can attend therapy either individually or in a group setting. And then some psychiatrists will prescribe medication such as mood stabilizers and antipsychotics. The name antipsychotic sounds a lot worse than it actually is. And then there's electroshock therapy for the more severe cases. And basically, they just hook up these electronic shocks to your brain and control the amount that goes into your brain. These electronic shocks act like a reset button, basically, and hopefully will reset your brain so it has healthier patterns. So kind of like a modern day lobotomy. I think I'd have questions. Well, hey there. So yeah, I accidentally deleted the remainder of this video while I was editing. So I'm just gonna wing it. Let's talk about the arraignment hearing. According to prosecution, they paint a picture that Lindsay was not struggling with postpartum depression or postpartum psychosis. And she never mentioned that she was suffering from psychosis or auditory hallucinations. According to the prosecution, she was only on 3 medications at the time of the murder, but I don't really think that matters because I know there's, a time frame where medication doesn't work and it takes effect. It takes like 6 weeks, doesn't it? I mean, I guess if you pop a Xanax, it'll work immediately. So without knowing the dosage and what medication she's on, I can't really say much about it. But let's take a look at both sides of the argument and then we'll be right back.
The police were able to find several notebooks in the defendant's home pursuant to a search warrant, and also notes on her phone that were similar to journal entries. In the months, weeks, and days preceding January 24th, 2023, the defendant meticulously detailed her daily activities, her children's lives, her mental state, and her medication use. Her writing was clear, precise, and articulate. She never indicated that she was hallucinating, delusional, or had disordered thoughts or speech. In all of her writing, she appears to know who she is, where she is, the date, and with whom she's interacted. She wrote a note on her phone the day before killing the children, stating that she had, quote, a touch of postpartum anxiety. She also kept meticulous and detailed daily medication logs in a diary that she wrote. She detailed that she had difficulties with each of the medications that were prescribed to her. And when she had issues with those medications, she detailed how her doctor had her stop that medication or wean off of it, and then try something else. They were trying different medications to see what would work for her, what would benefit her. After her stay at McLean, the defendant appeared to be getting better. She even stayed alone with the children on several occasions without any issues in January of 2023. Her husband asked her in mid-January, "Are you still having suicidal thoughts?" And she said no. No one at all described her as acting like a zombie in the days leading up to the murder. The children were killed by ligature. Ligature causes the victim to become unconscious anywhere from 10 seconds up to a minute. The more the victim struggles, the longer it takes. After the victim is unconscious, the ligature must be held in place with force, squeezing the neck for up to an additional 4 to 5 minutes to cause death. Therefore, she had to strangle each of them to unconsciousness and then make sure the bands were squeezing their little necks for several minutes. She could have changed her mind at any point during that time and removed those bands from their necks, and she did not. The defendant did not take advantage of the situation when her husband left the home that night. She created the situation. The defendant is a danger to herself and others. She planned these murders, gave herself the time and privacy needed to commit the murders, and then she strangled each child in the place where they should have felt the safest, at home with their mom.
Your Honor, my request is that the court not enter what I would suggest is an inhumane order, ordering this woman to be incarcerated. We all know, as people that work in the system, that jails and prisons are woefully deficient in medical care of the most basic type. We all know that this is an individual who is in dire medical condition. We all know that this woman is a danger to herself. I question whether she would ever make it to a trial. She's extremely emotional. However, she's unable and has been unable to express any happiness or sadness or cry. And in fact, sometime about a month or two ago, she made the comment, "I just wish that I could feel something." Now, our society fails miserably in treating women with postpartum depression or even postpartum psychosis. It's medicate, medicate, medicate. Throw the pills at you, and then see how it works. If it doesn't work, increase the dose or decrease the dose. Then end up trying another combination of medications. We're talking a relatively short period of time from when that baby was born in October up until January, when this incident occurred, Your Honor, that she was on such significant dosage of medication. When Kellen was born, she ended up becoming depressed, suffered from significant anxiety, as a result of which she consulted with a number of doctors. A number of doctors indicated that she would be able to sleep, she would be able to feel, she would be able to emote once these medications kicked in. And our society completely abandons women with this condition. It's easy to say, come on, you have a healthy baby. You have a wonderful husband. You're able to take care of your kids and your home. You're lucky. Take the pills, you'll be okay.
All right, guys, so what do you think? Do you agree with prosecution and think that Lindsay wasn't suffering from any type of mental illness and just killed her kids in cold blood? Or do you think that she was definitely suffering from something? Let me know in the comment section below. So my opinion, that's really hard to answer. I don't know what my opinion is on this. I know that when I first started this video, I didn't feel very empathetic towards Lindsay. I didn't understand how a mother could do this. And then as I listened to interviews, did more research, and reached out to friends that have suffered from this, I have come to the conclusion that I do believe she was suffering from a mental illness. If you are struggling with postpartum mental health, hopefully after watching this video, you can see that you're not alone and things don't have to end in tragedy like it did in the case that we covered today. In a sec, I'm going to give you a phone number and a website. So if you are struggling from any of the symptoms, please go grab a pen or a piece of paper and write this shit down. You know, I'm not a medical doctor, but it's just in my opinion that even if you aren't ready to reach out for help, arming yourself with knowledge and a solution may help you become ready a bit faster and at least possibly make you feel like you were in more control of the situation. I think the Mayo Clinic said it best when they said postpartum is not a weakness or a character flaw. Sometimes it's just a complication to birth. According to Johns Hopkins Medicine, 80% of patients will experience a full recovery. So there's a lot of hope there, guys. I'm sending you so much love if you're experiencing these symptoms. Please know that you're not crazy and that if you just get help, things will probably be just fine. If you're watching this and you want to leave a survivor story in the comment section, please do so. You never know who your comment can help. All right, guys, that's all I have for this case. Thank you so very much for listening. Don't forget, like the video and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, stay safe and stay focused.